Thank you for clicking on the help video. I'm going to try to help you with the problem similar to the homework, where f is represented by this graph here. So if this represents the graph of f, and g equals to negative 3 times f of x minus 1 minus 2, we want to draw the graph of g. We want to begin first by identifying what the x and y values are to this graph of f, starting with the point on the left and moving towards the right. So from left to right. Never from the middle, always from left to right. So the coordinates for this from left to right are -1, -1. This point up here, the second one I plotted is plotted at 1, 1. And the third point is 2, 0. Okay. So now let's go to what g is doing. G is doing a multiple of things. So g is the transformation of f with multiple transformations. So we're transforming f not just by sliding it left and right, but also doing reflections and dilations. We always want to begin first again with how the x values are being affected, which is always going to be on the inside right there, okay? So we focus on this and only on this part right now. X minus 1 doesn't mean that we're going to subtract 1 to the x's. X minus 1 actually does the opposite and moves the graph in a positive direction. So this notation is technically adding 1 to the value of x. So let's write this down. So this is actually x plus 1. So let's add 1 to all of those x's. And that's the only thing that's being affected again to the x. We're only doing that one transformation to the x, moving it to the right. So adding 1 to those three numbers, we get 0, 2, and 3, okay? So we now know what the coordinate will be for g doing this horizontal shift, moving everything to the right 1 unit. Now let's focus on the y values. What are we going to do to the y's? Well, the y transformations are affected on the outside, and we have two of them here. We have this notation right there, which again is -3 times f of x. Since we already did this, we could ignore that, and we can think about this, the rest of this, as -3 times f of x, and then -2. And again, I'm not going to worry about the -1 because I already did that. So just f of x minus 2. So this notation means to multiply the f of x values by -3 and subtract 2 again to the f of x values. So if I ignore this, f of x minus 2 is to get the f of x values and subtract 2. But because we're doing both of them, obviously we have to do multiplication first. Again, we're following PEMDAS still. Multiplication takes priority over a subtraction or addition. So if I multiply all of these values by -3 first, I can then subtract 2 and determine what these values will be. So starting with the first one, -1 times -3 is +3, and then -2 is 1. Now with the second value, 1 times -3 is -3, and then -2 is -5. Then finally 0 times this -3 is 0, and then -2 is -2. So now that I've done those two operations to the y's, and I've done, of course, my operation on the x, I can now plot these. 0, 1, 2, -5, and then 3, -2. And as I plot, these points will automatically be connected, and there I have transformed this red graph and created the graph of g.